leaving you furrowing your brow. Perched upon the precipice, there's no resistance now. You won't ponder on your packing list, the weight it pulls you down below.
Oh, there's nothing left, there's nothing that he craved. Yesterday is adding up, this is the coward's way. Not enough all alone,
Not enough on his own.
he counts on giving in.
He counts on giving in. Your cloudy crown won't hold you down. You're a shadow in the night. When every bit of you knows there's no doorway to the light. Falling feels like either catch me or look out below.
There's nothing left, it's nothing that she craves. Yesterday is adding up, this is the coward's way. Not enough.
really cool if Kevin could be on the show, and I know he's a busy man. He's Kevin could be on the show, and I know he's a busy man.
That's great. And Kevin, I'm honored to have you. I was reading more about you last night, and I'm honored to have you. Bruce, just if you could just. Why this? Why now? Bruce, you got me?
Yeah, there was an echo
right.
there for a minute.
That's all right. A little bit more about your background, if you take a minute. A little bit more about your background. You're still getting the echo, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I'll work through the echo.
Okay.
My background. I have been. Oh, I have to get rid of that echo. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, I have to get rid of that echo. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I gotta.
We can go to Kevin.
Yeah, go to Kevin.
Let's go to Kevin. Tell. I hate to say. Then if I hate to say it, I shouldn't say it. Your story, but again, tell us what was going on. Tell us about yourself, if you would, please. Honored to have you.
Absolutely. It's great to be here with all of you, first of all. So thank you for what you're doing with this play, and the writing is impeccable. The storyline is powerful. The actors, I'm sure, are very moving. I'm really excited to see it, first of all. But I was born into severe poverty. I was fed Kool-Aid, Coca-Cola, and sour milk as my first diet for the first 9 months of my life. I was saved by Patrick and Debbie Hines and given a beautiful existence and a wonderful childhood past my traumatic infancy. And I thought to myself growing up that how could anything go sideways from here? How could anything go south? I'm going to grow up. I'm going to go to that great school, get that good job my parents were always talking about, and everything's going to be okay. But at 17 and a half, it all came crumbling down, and I lost myself. I lost my sanity, and I fell apart at the seams. I had a complete and total mental breakdown at 17, was placed on medications that were too many for my body to take at one time. And I ended up at 19 on the Golden Gate Bridge, ready to die by these two hands from lethal emotional pain, from suicide. I absolutely believed I was worthless. I felt I had no value, and I thought my family hated me and wanted me gone. But as you know, on all three of those accounts, I was wrong. My family loved me. I had worth, I had value. I deserved to be here until my natural end, but I couldn't see it. And it was that day, on September 25th, the year 2000, as I stood on that bridge, hoping, wishing, and praying that one person would see my pain and say something kind and compassionate. Hey, kid, are you okay? Brother, is something wrong? Pal, can I help you? I would have told that person everything and begged them to save me. But the only person that approached me was a woman with these giant sunglasses on, who obviously couldn't see the tears pouring from my eyes. And she asked me to take her picture with a small digital camera. And I thought, absolutely nobody cares. But that was the furthest thing from the truth. And when she walked away, I had been hearing auditory hallucinations for some time prior to this. When she walked away, the voices in my head screamed, jump now, and I did. And, it was the millisecond that my hands left the rail and my legs cleared it that I had an instantaneous regret for my actions and the 100% recognition that I just made the greatest mistake of my life and it was too late. And I fell 220 feet, 25 stories at 75 miles an hour, hoping, wishing, and praying that I would survive. I hit the water, I went down 70 feet, and I opened my eyes, and I was drowning. I couldn't feel my legs. I had shattered my T12, L1, and L2 lower vertebrae, and I had missed severing my spinal cord that day by 2 millimeters. But what happened next was miraculous. A few things happened to save my life. A woman driving by in a red car at the moment of my jump saw me go over and called her friend in the United States Coast Guard, who happened to be manning the waters of the bridge on that morning. The reason the Coast Guard got to my position in the water within a 3-minute time before I'd set in hypothermia and drown was because of that woman's phone call. In the water, as I flailed to stay afloat, I couldn't stay above water. I kept going down and swallowing salt water. And that's when something began to circle beneath me. And it was very large and very slimy and very, very alive. And I thought it was a shark. And I was really freaking out. And I'm punching this thing, but it won't go away. It's just circling faster and faster. But now I'm not wading in the water anymore. I'm lying atop on my back, being kept buoyant by this creature, thinking, just waiting for it to bite off a leg or an arm. A year later, I was on a TV show promoting a suicide prevention campaign in San Francisco. And a man wrote into the show when it went viral online and said, "Kevin, I'm so very glad you're alive. I was standing less than 2 feet away from you when you jumped. Until this day, watching this show, no one would tell me whether you lived or died. It's haunted me until right now. By the way, there was no shark like you mentioned you thought there was on the show, but there was a sea lion, and the people above looking down believed it to be keeping your body afloat until the Coast Guard boat arrived behind you." And the Coast Guard boat arrives, this creature takes off. These guys hoist me onto a flatboard, put me in a neck brace, and strap me in from head to toe. And the senior officer leans in, he goes, "Son, do you understand how many people we pull out of these waters that are already gone?" And I said, "No, sir, and I don't want to know." He said, "I'm going to tell you anyway." He said, "Young man, this unit alone has pulled out 57 dead bodies from these waters and 1 live one, me." And that gave me a massive amount of perspective. When they got me to the hospital, one of the foremost back surgeons on the West Coast was leaving for the day. He opted to do me a solid and stay. He did my surgery, the first and only of its particular kind. He invented it for my situation, saving me the ability to walk, stand, and run. Of the 39 Golden Gate Bridge jump survivors, the 1% that have survived that fall in the last 83 years of it being open, the bridge, of the 39 survivors, 5 of us can stand, walk, and run. They call us the most exclusive survivors club in the world. And there's a book of the same name. So all of that is to say, I'm so lucky and blessed to be alive. I'm so grateful for this existence. And I can't just sit around eating potato chips, playing video games. I've got to try to help other people stay here. And that's really what my wife and I have been doing, and what I've been doing for the last 20 years is trying to help people in mental and brain pain fight that pain, find their true resilience, and be here tomorrow.
I've got to ask you, when you heard that about the sea lion, what do you think about that?
I'm a man of faith. I thought it was from the hand of God, but that's my perspective and that's my prerogative. And I know not everybody shares that perspective. I have a friend who says he has a binary faith in ones and zeros, and he said it had to happen to someone. So there's that kind of perspective too. But I really believe that my guardian angel carried me down and kept me afloat with that sea lion, because had that creature not been there to save my life, I'd be dead.
It's just so, Bruce, that's just, when I was reading that, when you and I were communicating, it just blew me away. I mean, that's so powerful. And I'm really grateful, Kevin, that you shared that. I know you've shared it many times, and thank you for sharing it again today.
You're very welcome.
I just have to say, Louie, I took care of my echo problem there, luckily. But Kevin is the inspiration for the play. So
tell me a little bit more about the inspiration.
Oh, what? Oh, okay. I didn't know. All right. That's okay. No, Kevin is the inspiration for the play. I had this idea of wanting to write a play with these 2 characters that somehow meet on the Golden Gate Bridge, but they don't know what their intentions are. 2 very different characters, diverse characters, and I had to do research, and I didn't know the depth of this once I got into it. And as writers, you have to do a lot of research, and the first story I ran into was Kevin's story, and once I heard his story, his testimony, his miraculous survival, it just flowed. The words flowed, the characters took shape. I understood what was going on, and so I owe Kevin a great debt of gratitude for making the play what it is. And he's a remarkable human being. I'm glad I can call him my friend. I just ordered his book because Kevin does have a book. What's the name of your book again, Kevin? I haven't received it yet, but
Called Cracked, Not Broken: Surviving and Thriving After a Suicide Attempt.
yes. And you know, I'm a professor by trade. That's my day job, but I write plays, and I am also a person who has you know, not like what happened to Kevin, but I did make an attempt at taking my own life in 1978, and I had a miraculous event that happened, but that's not the point of this story. But I just have so much respect for what Kevin does, saving lives. He saves lives every day, and I'm hoping this play can do the same thing. I already had somebody contact me and say that they're going to be watching. Their family is in crisis. They watched Kevin's story, and they're hanging on, and that's what we got to have them do. You know, hang on, and you know, and give tomorrow a chance, like the play says. And but I wanted to take this opportunity, if I could, Louie, to now that we've met Kevin, know a little bit of his story, to introduce you to the
Beautiful.
people.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if it's okay. The people that are. What's that, Louie?
Please do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, we have Cedric and Jordan. They're the guys in the missile control room there that are the technical geniuses behind what we're going to be doing. Well, you know, putting on this call today, but also for the play, which is going to be remarkable. I don't think anybody else is doing what these guys are doing. So if anybody out there listening wants something similar to what our play is going to be, once they watch the play on Wednesday, contact us, and these guys will be willing to help you out. They are remarkable young people. And then last but not least, I want to introduce the players, right? I mean, the play's the thing, right? So we have Rick Walters, who plays Harry, and we have Tommy Hestmark, who plays Angel, the Bridge Angel, and we have Rochelle Henry,
Play Simone.
Bruce froze.
Bruce is frozen.
Well, Rachel, how about telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I've been acting since I was 6. So I've been doing this for about 13 years, and I've always been drawn to projects that have a social message or a cause to them. I've always, like, if they have a story and if they can help someone, I've always been drawn to those.
Can I interrupt you for a second? Forgive me, but where do you think that comes from in you?
I don't know. I think that my family has always been very compassionate and has always been wanting to help others. And I think that being raised that way and wanting to make sure that other people succeed, and actually animals, and, you know, just making sure that, you know, humanity thrives, and make sure that the world is, you know, taken care of. I think that that's a part of it. I've always felt a lot of empathy for, you know, not only humans, but animals. And I think that that's always just been a part of me, is wanting to help others no matter what. My first film I ever directed a few years ago, I made it about animal testing. And I think that, you know, ever since then, even if my films that I make or that I act in, even if they aren't directly tied to a cause, I can always see how it's going to help someone. Like, that's something that directly impacts me, is how is it going to help someone, or, you know, so that, I think that that's always just been a big part of me, is, will it help in some way? Or what will it teach us? Even if it isn't like a social message, what can it teach us about the world? So I think that that's always just been something that I'm grateful to as a performer, that I get to use my art to, you know, to be able to give back and help and teach. So that's always been a part of me.
I'm glad to hear that. And I'm glad to hear that about animals. You and I are the same as far as that level of compassion and empathy goes. So I'm glad to hear that. Tommy, a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Hey, I'm Tommy Hessmark. I started acting about 10 years ago. It's something that I had always wanted to do, but never really took the plunge. And took when my mother was diagnosed with cancer, literally the day that she was in the hospital, and they told her about how long she had turned to me and asked me what I was going to do. And I said, well, I'm going to take care of you. And she said, no, with your life. And I said, well, I don't know. And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I've always wanted to be an actor, but I don't have the courage to do it. She said, there's so many things that she wished she would have tried that she was afraid of. But now knowing that she had kind of a time limit, she wouldn't be afraid of those anymore. And she said, get off your ass and go figure it out. So I started taking some classes and got an agent, and it's kind of one of those things. I'm kind of a shy person, but once I get going, I really connect with some of the material, and it just speaks to me. It's kind of funny. It feels like my mom gave me life twice in a way, because it's
beautiful.
When I got to the acting, you have to really dig around in all this stuff that we as humans tend to push down our whole lives. And you're, as a male, sometimes you're expected to not show emotion. Don't be weak, you got to be strong. And it's most people live their lives that way, and I wasn't in alignment with who I really was. And the journey and process of acting makes you kind of reach in there, and you got to shake that stuff around. And I liken it to opening boxes in an attic. You don't want to open them up, but once you do, you get all of this. Who knows what came out of me, but I feel so alive, and I am very grateful that she got me off my ass to start doing this.
That's beautiful. When you say that about pushing it down, I was raised that way, that you cry, and my dad would call me names, and and I tried to push it down, and the way I equate it, and again, you get to be an old man, it does, you don't care anymore. I am who I am. I'm very emotional. I cry, whatever. But to me, it's kind of like pushing down on, it's like squeezing a sponge to try to keep the water in it. The more you squeeze it down, the more it comes out. And I'm really glad to hear that. And I'm grateful that you shared that story. It's really powerful and beautiful. Thank you for that. Rick, good to see you again.
Good to see you too, my friend. How are you?
Great, thank you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Well, I'm still Sparks in Lucky and Sparks.
Okay.
I'm a musician. I'm an actor, filmmaker, and I'm an Army veteran. And I'm also a survivor of suicide. Bruce, Cedric, Rochelle, and Tommy, all of us have like a connection together in either the acting world or the filmmaking world. And it's so cool to sit and listen to them talk about their inspirations to get into the thing, because I'm a strong believer in healing through the arts. And like Rochelle said, the arts are a perfect catalyst for conversation, and conversation often is a catalyst for change. So both of the plays that Lockdown Theater has done, I've been incredibly proud to be a part of, because it's given a voice to ideas that a lot of people don't talk about, or a lot of people don't understand enough to want to talk about. And I came to tears listening to Kevin talk. I didn't know about the sea lion this morning. That was amazing. But it's going to be hard for anyone to hear someone like Kevin talk and not want to learn more. And I'm confident that Bruce's new script is very, very similar in this regard, in that it's so compelling. The characters are so relatable. And I don't want to give away the storyline in this, but I'll give you a personal caveat with something that's happening in my life right now. My mom, who I've been estranged with for my entire life, is currently in a hospital in Alaska. And without going into all of the details, my family is mobilizing to go up to see her. And, you know, it involves quarantine, testing, and there's several other hoops to jump through. My brother and my sister are already on their way, and I have to go. And I'm terrified. I'm terrified to go and watch my mom die. And this play, when you watch it, Louie, you'll understand how that's so apropos. But there are things that we have to confront in our minds that we either have the equipment to deal with or we don't. And a lot of times a problem will happen, and our natural problem solving mechanism will kick in. We'll start orienting ourselves to the problem, observing it, and deciding on what we're going to do, and then acting on that decision. But when people are hurt, like when you hear Kevin and when he kind of just itemizes those things, my family doesn't want me, nobody likes me, I'm not lovable. Those items, those lists become very real. And then you don't have the tools to kind of, you know, deconstruct those lists, and they become overwhelming. And it's not like a science fiction movie. It's more like a flu. When it happens, it happens. You have it, and you don't know how to get away from it or get it out from under you until you do something. And Kevin took his, you know, as sad as it is, he took his fate into his own hands because he was trying to control the things in his life. Control. Mental health is a terrible thing in that regard. So with all of my personal experience and my belief in healing through the arts, I can't tell you how amazing this is. I mean, it's very, very special that all of my friends that are working on this together, including Tommy, who I honestly didn't know very well, but I've known of him for those 10 years that he's been acting. I've been watching him, and I actually, you know, asked him to audition for this role. It's really, really special to see all these ideas and problems in my own mind being solved, or at least addressed through the art of streamplay. It's pretty decent.
I appreciate you sharing that about your mom, and how soon are you, or if you'd rather not ask?
You know, after the show
on Wednesday.
Yeah, on Thursday there's a legal proceeding happening, kind of a technicality in the whole thing, and pending the outcome of that, then that's going to determine how we get to care for her mom in the last, you know, going forward. So it's all very present and now, you know.
I find it very courageous with you all sharing what you're sharing. I mean, these are deeply personal stories, and it's one thing to, when you're acting, you know, when you're doing a play, well, somebody else wrote that. It's something else to talk about personal lives. A lot of times people don't want to talk about that. They're again, and I'm not an actor, so I don't know what it's like, but you're playing a role, so you can kind of put it off on, well, that's the character I'm playing. But what you're all talking about here is very real and very personal.
Well, we're self-therapizing, Louie. Through our art, and that's, you know, you have to talk about it, unfortunately, and this is probably one of the healthiest ways to talk about it, if you ask me, because you're with other people and you get feedback, and you it sometimes it's impossible to think that someone's going to understand how you're feeling. Like nobody can feel this, you know. But holy crap, Bruce and I are both in the military. Holy crap, Bruce and I are both suicide, you know, survivors, and holy crap, we both want to help other people not or survive, you know, if it ever gets to that point. So
Bruce, can you tell us a little bit more about the play? Yeah,
sorry, I had a catastrophic failure there. So
yeah, but you're back.
I'm back.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
And Kevin had to go?
Yeah,
Kevin had to go.
Find out in the chat box, and he said goodbye and thank you, Bruce.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's a very busy man, helping people. A little bit more about the play. Well, it was, I think, 4 years ago I started with this idea, and like I said, Kevin was an inspiration for it. And in order to write plays, you got to do a lot of research, and I ran into his story, and it helped me come up with these characters. And I wanted to look at two different groups of people that are one of the highest, in terms of numbers. Young people, teenagers, and which Rochelle represents, and middle-aged folks, which Rick represents in his character, Harry, and the complications that bring him to that point, that suicidal point. So I was very interested in that, having had an experience myself. But in order to write a play like this, you get, and this happens to actors too, and maybe in a different way, but writing is a very solitary activity. And I had to get into a very dark place for me to get into the minds of these people and the situation. And luckily you can pull yourself out of it, but and then you create something, and you don't know if it's any good or not until you show it to somebody. You might think it's okay or whatever, but most writers, you don't really know till you get a reaction. And then when people that I really respect, all these actors here and Cedric and Jordan liked it, I said, okay, we got something here, and let's. It is a mission. There's a clear mission to this: suicide awareness, suicide prevention. But it's also a very entertaining piece, because we have very talented people involved. I mean, you'll just be blown away. Those of you who've seen our previous production, you saw Rick in the Mephistopheles character, and This Is My Gun. He did an excellent job. But Tommy and Rochelle, although they're working actors, professional actors, they're going to be featured in this one. You didn't see them in the last one, but they're in this one. And there's only 3 characters, and it's a very powerful play because of them. They're just words on a page until actors and the technical folks behind the scenes bring it to life. And it's kind of like watching your baby being born. And I have 4 children, and it's kind of similar to that when this happens. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Gene. And I know, Louie, I've talked to you about Gene, and your listeners have heard about Gene.
Yes.
Gene has a hand in this, Louie.
Explain Gene. Tell.
Yeah.
Give us the background on Gene.
Yeah, Gene was my childhood friend, also Norwegian American. We grew up together, literally grew up together. And we could, talk to each other about our experiences with Norwegian parents, and, how amusing it was and frustrating sometimes it was. So I've been friends with Gene my whole life. And then in 2016, he passed away. He died of cancer. It was very tragic. And I was heartbroken. And a month after Gene passed away, he came to me in a vision. And I have visions because I've talked to you, Louie, and I know the cast has heard about my paranormal experiences. But Gene came to me in a vision and said it was time for me to tell my stories. And so I wrote, 3 books about the paranormal. And this whole time since then, I've been communicating with Gene. And he inspired me with putting this, presenting this play to this group of people. And I have to say, the connection here is that Rick and Rochelle were both very good friends of Gene. So there's 3 of us here that are tied into Gene. I can't remember if Jordan and Cedric, if you met Gene or not, that I can't remember. And Tommy, I don't think you did, although you might have run into him because you're a Pacific Northwest guy. But anyway, so there's definitely Rick, myself, and Rochelle who are all tied into Gene. So Gene has his hand in this as well. And it's just remarkable. When you talk about, when Kevin talked about that sea lion, I don't think that was coincidence. I think there was, whether you say it was the hand of God or whatever, there's some higher forces at work here. And there are angels at work as well. And I think Gene is one of those angels.
Or I may say, Rochelle, or the wonders of the animal world, right? Maybe just that.
Yeah.
Actually, something interesting about that is the last film Gene was ever in was in mine. That film that I directed.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I actually, he was about to go on a skiing trip. It was like one of his, last things he was wanting to do. And I originally was going to have the film shooting in a few different weeks. And when I heard his schedule, he was the only person that I wanted to play the role that he did. And so I completely changed the shoot dates just so he could be in it. And it was the last film he was ever in. But it meant the world to me that he was in it. So, yeah.
Hey, Rochelle, can you mention the name of the film and how people can see it?
Please.
That would be great.
It's actually not out publicly. One of these days I should
not.
release it. But it's called Missing.
Mhm.
And Gene, I'll kind of give away some of the plot right here. But essentially what the
Spoiler
film is
alert.
about. Essentially what the film is, it's about animal testing, but how I show it is that I use humans to personify like the animals that are being tested on. So like
that's
my character is
wonderful.
actually at the very end, you find out it's a golden retriever. But yeah, and so how the film starts is you see a guy and his wife putting up posters and handing them out to find, someone that's missing. And you see me, but turns out it's their missing dog. It's their fur baby that's missing. So Gene, plays my dad in it essentially. And that film was such a learning experience. I made it for the Adobe Pitch Project, which is actually a project that that allows youth. They give them grants, and it allows youth to make projects about like social change. So I had to pair up with a nonprofit I worked with too. I was 15 at the time, and it was my first film ever directing.
Wait.
I'm 19 now.
I thought I was doing the math before when you said, so I figured you're what?
I'm
Yeah.
19.
Wow.
Okay. I'm thinking, I'm sorry, as you're saying this, forgive me, everybody. I'm thinking, what am I missing here? I thought she said, and that was years ago. And I know I'm not good with math in my head, but those simple numbers I thought I had. And you made a film when you were 15?
You didn't mention in the introduction, Bruce, that she was a prodigy.
Child prodigy. Well,
Shucks.
yeah.
It was an amazing experience because I originally only thought of, acting and producing in it. I didn't intend on directing and editing it. And it was a huge learning experience for me. I mean, there's things I would do differently, but I think that it actually turned out pretty good for being my first time directing. And I got so much support from the film community. I had 3 reds, a drone, and then 2 rigs, and I got to film both on location and in a studio. And I had a full crew for both locations, and I couldn't believe how everyone came together to help me, make this film come to life and to allow me the opportunity of making my first film. And since then, I think I've now directed a total of 5, 6, and produced multiple others. I'm trying to remember because I did one recently, so my brain is trying to do the math.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I hope you'll put that film out sometime. So
Yeah.
I would love to see it. I would love to be able to see
Is there like a clip or a trailer of it or anything that people could see, Rochelle?
I don't think I've released anything from that one actually.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got a screenshot
but I have
with Gene and the puppy.
I know. You never see Gene with a dog in it. Which is because I kept that whole thing at the end, like the entire part with the dogs, the plot twist. And our dog actor did such a good job because the guy that plays the scientist experimenting on the dog actually is a dog trainer in real life. So one of his clients' dogs, the golden retriever, he gave her commands, and then she just lay there and no, it was a he. The dog was a boy, and he just lay there very still. And I had people ask me, "Is the dog okay? Is the dog alive?" I'm like, "Yes."
Wow.
He was very, he was given treats between takes. Very happy dog. He just was such a good actor, So actually, what's interesting is my first film. They say never to direct kids or animals, and I had both, and I've directed kids and animals multiple
so
times.
much for that.
Neither
right?
times have been hard.
It's probably better to direct maybe kids and animals
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Other than adults and
Right. I
adults,
think
right?
I've always chosen carefully with my cast, both, human and otherwise.
Wow.
So
Bruce, talk a little bit about, if you would, again, this is going to be Wednesday, the 15th, 1 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah.
Or 4 p.m. Eastern.
Hmm.
A little bit about how people watch.
Well, I could. I don't know if Jordan and Cedric have talked about it, but Jordan or Cedric, could you guys tell people how they can watch?
From the control room.
Yeah, from the control room.
On YouTube and Facebook.
The YouTube, I have it right here. Let me see. We're Lockdown Theater on YouTube and Facebook, and then you can get Lockdown Theater on Twitch. One word, Lockdown Theater.
Can you switch your camera to a screen cap or something and show them how to get to Lockdown? Is that? I should have said that off screen. I don't know why.
It would take quite a few clicks to do that.
Guys,
and I don't have that.
Tell me about Twitch.
I will put a couple links up on titles here shortly.
Okay. All right.
Tell me about Twitch. Tell me about. I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
Twitch is like the new streaming. It's mostly for video games, but just by saying that we're doing plays, we've gotten a few people to put our channel in their feeds. It's a really booming place for people to share just whatever their thoughts on anything. The highest paid people on Twitch are really just people who talk about what they like.
That's amazing, and it's monetized. That's the amazing part about it.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. When you think about it.
Go ahead, Bruce. It's
so it's going to be live, and the actors will be in remote locations, and there'll be a tremendous. I don't know if they've talked about it. The backdrop is going to be the actual bridge, and this is stuff that these guys, our tech guys, have created. I mean, this is a virtual world they have created. So some of, like the last play we did, everybody was just at home, so you saw whatever was at home behind them, kind of like what I got behind me. But this is going to be a virtual world behind each actor. And I don't know how they did it, or, I know why they did it, because they wanted to be on the cutting edge of this, which they are. But it's really going to be a treat for people to see. And it'll really bring the story to life, because actually, I mentioned there was only 3 characters, Harry, Simone, and Angel. There's actually 4. The 4th character is the bridge itself, because there's something about the Golden Gate Bridge. Louie, I don't know if you've ever been there. Have you ever been to the Golden Gate?
Yes, I have.
There's an allure to it. There's an allure to it, and it's both a wonderful, historic place, beautiful place, but it also has this tragic allure too, unfortunately, for people who are wanting to end their life. And they have this in their imagination. They think that it's going to be this incredible experience where, as I think Simone, Rochelle's character says, that she's going to be carried away on the wings of an angel. And they don't think about the horrific things that happen that Kevin talked about, and the miraculous way that he survived. They don't think that it's going to be, painful and all that, and that people will be grieving for the rest of their lives. So it has that tragic allure as well. So that is really the 4th character. And the way Jordan and Cedric have set it up, the bridge has moods. And so they're going to be depicting that, the differing moods of the bridge. And then, of course, there's the sounds as well. And I don't know if Tommy has had a chance to talk about his character. Tommy, did you talk about your character?
No.
Okay. I think Tommy plays, Kevin mentioned the bridge angels, these people who volunteer on the bridge to look for people. They look for signs of people who are in distress, right? Well, that's the character that Tommy plays. And even though he doesn't have as many lines as Rochelle and Rick, his character is kind of the anchor character, because he actually saves both of them. Well, maybe I gave away the plot. Oh, well. All right, that's terrible. But anyway, but how does he do it? What is it? What happens?
Tommy, you want to talk?
Anyway, Tommy, do you want to talk about, maybe you talk about playing that character, and maybe some of the other stuff you've done? I know you're a professional actor, so like these others.
I don't like talking about myself, but
Come on, Tommy.
for
a little bit more, a little bit more.
Well, here's this, Tommy. What about the contrast of this character to some of the other characters you played? Because you told me something about that, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, I typically play the bad guy, bouncer, thug, which I do love those roles. Those are a lot of fun to play, but I haven't had a ton of opportunities to I don't know. I really connect with Angel, this character. I think he and I have a lot in common, and just we did some character work this weekend, and I was digging out some of that stuff you pushed down, and I think that's what Angel needed. He's you can tell he had been through some things in his life, and he has to maintain control. He has to be calming. He has to be soothing. He has to be able to show these people who are going through a tough time that, even if he's a stranger walking by the bridge, he cares. Tell me your story. I want to listen. I'm here for you. And, the world needs so much more of that. And I have goosebumps right now. This story, it's growing inside of me, and I've watched it grow inside of the other cast members. And it's although the story, the material's rough to deal with, it's really cool to connect with my compadres here and watch us each kind of have breakthrough moments and growing as well all together. It's pretty cool.
Bruce, if you would, a little bit more about the writing process of it, because again, I know you feel very deeply. I don't want to say how difficult. I mean, how did this pour out of you?
Well, it always starts with I'm compelled to write the story, whether it's a play or anything else, or comic books that I do. I'm compelled to do it. And in this case, and I've dealt with suicide in a previous play. When a friend of mine killed himself in 2002, it led to my first play, actually, The Bronze Star. He's a Vietnam vet who committed suicide just after the invasion of Afghanistan. He didn't want to see, I remember the last thing he said to me is, Bruce, I don't want to see a whole new generation lost to war. And that's, and that inspired me to write, his story. And I just thought the time was right because, suicide it keeps going up. I forgot what the statistics are other than the veteran statistics, which are shocking enough, 22 veterans a day.
Every 40 seconds, somewhere in the world, someone kills themselves.
Yeah, every 40 seconds. So, I mean, we're losing artists, engineers, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, every profession you can think of, doctors and lawyers. These are professional people, young people who haven't even set out on their life yet. We're losing all of their contributions, and we can't afford to do that. We need help in this world, and we're missing out because we're losing these people. And so it was a mission. It's like everything I write, it's always a mission. And the story no longer is mine. It becomes everybody else's story. And I think Kevin says that too. When he tells his story, he often says, this is not just my story. This is a lot of people's story. And it's out there to help others. And that's what this play is going to do, is help other people. And I don't say that to brag or, that I'm such a great writer or anything, because the muse is working through me to put this story out there. And then, like I said, the actors pick it up and they run with it and they internalize it and they do what they do. I don't know how they do it. I can't do it. I've taken acting classes. I'm the world's worst actor, because I'm thinking about what I'm going to say next and try to rewrite it as I'm saying, that doesn't work. So you have to internalize it and let your soul shine through. And that's what these three actors do. And they bring it to life. And so that the process, I love writing plays because it's much different than writing a novel or something, which is so isolated and insular. A play requires, and I know you're a theater guy, Louie, requires community involvement. I mean, all these people come together, the technical geniuses we have, the genius of our actors, everybody coming together. And of course, the audience, would be nothing without the audience. So, I mean, it all has to come together. And I love it. I love writing plays. And I love the fact that Cedric and Jordan are able to make this happen in this environment that we're in of isolation. And
how is everybody time wise? Are we good for another 10 minutes or so?
I'm good.
So-
Rochelle, did you have something? I know there was.
Michelle, you good? Tommy, Rick?
Okay, all right.
I've
Just
been looking forward to this all week, Louie.
as have I, Rick. But let's talk. You guys, can you talk a little bit about the technical aspect again? COVID-19, it's different. It's very, very different, and it's groundbreaking with what.
Well, aside from the groundbreaking technical aspects of it, what a way to connect with another person or a community. You know,
it's beautiful.
We meet religiously in order to rehearse and to practice. The tech rehearsals we have are not really rehearsals for performance, but they're rehearsals where we all get together and we're all working with, going in the same direction together. And it's weird because, Tommy is a very successful, he works in the lending industry. He's a very successful businessman. And he's like literally ducking between meetings, being dad, buying a new house, doing all of these things that are, very, very a healthy life, and he's sectioning time to do this in a way that's like professional. This is a professional thing, and all of us give it that same kind of affect. We all want to do it. So that's cool. But then what's really special is like when Tommy and Rochelle and I got together the other day, we get to practice the craft. And it's the real thing. It's even harder almost for me. I've been acting on camera since 1996. I've been doing theater since, 7 or 8 years before then when I was little, just knee high to a cricket. And, theater is one thing. You learn, you rehearse, you come together. By the time you get out there on opening night, you know it like that. So we get to have that benefit. But we also are on camera 100% of the time. And that's difficult. And holy crap, you can see me moving around, twitching. I'm like, hey, ooh, it's really hard to turn that stuff off when you're in character and on camera. So that it is a craft, and we are absolutely practicing it. We're honing it, and it'll get better too.
So if we go to you guys, Cedric and Jordan, in the control room a little bit about how do you guys do it? I'm just blown away by the process.
Jordan makes all the magic.
Well, Cedric is the one who imagines how this craft can be cinematic, fit into film. And then I just listen to that and do my best to make it happen in the software. And since we do a lot of it remotely, it'll start out as something in his mind, and then he'll give it to me, and then I'll come back with something pretty different, and then he'll shape it back into more of a, I don't understand certain things like the certain camera angles that are necessary to make you feel certain ways, make you feel like two characters have certain relationships. I also try to stay more in the technical world and worry about things like if the audio's right, if the colors are right, and I make all the graphic design and the cinemagraphs that we're using for our backgrounds, and I did all the green screen tuning and stuff like that, so that Cedric can stay more in what is this, and be a director, and not, if anything, I'm trying to do all the tech so that not just Cedric doesn't have to deal with it, but everyone, because the tech it doesn't really cross over with all the other crafts all the time. We're trying to see how, but a lot of times these things that we're doing, no one's ever done them. And earlier, like with the feedback, I was panicking, looking over 5-10 things, trying to find what's making the feedback. That's just the norm when you do something new.
but again, cutting edge. This is cutting edge, and I think it's absolutely fantastic that y'all are doing it. Top of the hour, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Louie B Free Radio Show, Brainford from the Heartland, copyright B Free Radio Limited, 2020, produced by the lovely Ms. Moneyface, in cooperation with White Rabbit Productions. The Louie B Free Radio Show, Brainford from the Heartland, is an adult-oriented show intended for and only for a mature adult audience. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Excuse me. We're talking about the bridge. Bruce, I've got to say, Bruce Solheim, Professor, when I let me embarrass myself and say, you asked if I'd ever been to Golden Gate Bridge, and when Bunny and I were there many decades ago, we went to a restaurant. First night we got there, we went to a restaurant. It was up high. I'm looking. I said, "Oh my God, there's the Golden Gate Bridge. There's the Golden Gate Bridge," and it was like, "No, it's moving. It can't be." It was a ship that was out there somehow, and it looked to me, to a yokel from Ohio, like the Golden Gate Bridge, but it was not. It was moving. But then we did have the opportunity to get to the bridge. And when you think about that, with people dying, jumping, it's horrific. The fact of saving lives and doing what you're doing, letting people know what? I'll ask you again. Letting people know what, Bruce?
Letting people know that there are those that need our help. And like Kevin said, all it takes is for someone to reach out to them. They can't reach out because they're stuck inside. And all it takes is for somebody to say, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, noticing that maybe you're crying or you look upset, and somebody just saying, "Hey, how you doing? Can I help you with anything?" That's all it would have taken to keep Kevin from jumping. That's all it would have taken for most of the people from doing it. So when we go about our daily lives, if we could, keep that in mind. And I do want to mention in that vein that we have another theme song created by Lucky and Sparks. Is it possible to play a little bit of it, or maybe I don't know how long it is. I can't remember, but it's very haunting, and I think it captures all the characters, including the bridge character. And
the only thing I've got to say is, because I'm doing Facebook Live, will they put me in Facebook jail if we do the song live?
This is our song. Lucky and Sparks wrote it for this play. So
but I'm cool with it. Just
no, I think it'll be fine. And maybe Rick can talk about the song, and it's very moving. And go ahead, Rick.
Tell us
about the song.
Louie, you know Emma. And first of all, Emma wanted to be here so bad, and she says hello. We're on a family weekend, and she's being very, very dutiful daughter and sister for a wedding this weekend. So she's out. But Lucky and Sparks is our band. And we were doing music together before we came to Lockdown Theater. But she's she has become our resident composer. So her and Cedric have been working on this cue sheet since we first started our rehearsal run. And I think there's 28 cues for this show. So she's got custom harp cues, piano cues, combinations of different things that her and Cedric orchestrated and arranged. And then the two of us wrote a song called "The Feather in the Brick." And it was kind of like on demand. Like, Bruce gave us kind of a nebulous work order, and then so we started about writing it together. I actually wrote the poem one day. I was very depressed, and "The Feather in the Brick," if you've seen, there's some science YouTube thing where they actually put, I don't know if it was a brick, it might have been a brick or an anvil and a feather in a vacuum, and drop them at the same time. They both fall at the same rate. So I thought that was interesting. Anyway, that's the title of it. There's a lot of themes in there with gravity, and it's a story. It's supposed to be a 1965 folk song. Originally, Bruce, what was in the script? It was "The Sound of Silence" by Simon Garfunkel.
I originally wanted to have that song, but I don't, it's too hard to get the rights. It costs money. So I said, I commissioned these guys to write a folk song. A 60s folk song. So,
and the script is really clever. So Simone plays Rochelle. What's Simone? She's a self-proclaimed what?
Simone is a self-proclaimed gothic metal space princess.
Gothic metal. Wait, what was it?
Yep. Gothic metal space princess.
That's-
I'm in full goth when I'm when I'm playing Simone.
Along with the folk version of the song, Emma and I had the joy of writing a Gothic fairy space version of The Feather and the Brick for a segment of the show for one of the live sound crews. So that's tech. That's really big. In fact, we're all excited to get in Wednesday morning. We're going to do a full dress rehearsal with tech before we do the show at 1. And, we'll get to hear all those and stuff. So it's exciting. There's literally a lot going on. It's absolutely a live show. There's a lot of chances to fail and all that stuff. But this song you're about to hear, I don't know, maybe Bruce and Louie and guys, if you think maybe we can play it on the way out or something.
Okay, that'd be good. Yeah.
4 minutes and 9 seconds song long, and it's piano by our lovely Lucky and guitar by me, and we both sing in it.
Yeah, why don't we can do that on, if you want to do that on the way out, right? But let me ask you all again, for doing this, knowing again, you've all acted, you've all done things, like the power of the importance of this, I should say the importance of it. I said on the show a number of years ago, I said, well, everybody's thought about killing themselves at some point. And I was surprised that the people were freaked out. Maybe you, but not me. But a lot of people have thoughts of maybe the world would be a better place. Maybe I shouldn't be, whatever. Touching those people, reaching them early, like you said, Bruce. Sometimes just somebody being an active listener and hearing somebody and reaching out. Life's tough. We've all talked about struggles that we've had, pain. It's a lot of pain. Rick, what you're talking about with your mom. I mean, there's a lot of pain out there. Tommy, what you were talking about earlier, and just some of the things that we've all thought about, to know that there are others hearing us or that care, right? Am I making any sense?
Yeah. And like I said, we've been contacted. I was contacted on Facebook. I think it was somebody had seen the ad for the play and said that their family is in crisis and they needed to hear Kevin's story. They need to see this play. And so it's already having an effect. And that was the whole purpose. That is the mission. If you save one life, what's the old saying? If you save one life, you saved all of humanity.
The world. Yeah. That's beautiful. How does that feel to you, Bruce?
It's a big responsibility. And I kind of freaked out the actors, I don't know, 2 weeks ago when I gave them a message from Gene. You guys remember it, right? I came across, I said, okay, Gene said, this is very serious, guys. We are saving lives here. A lot is at stake. And then he said to me, not to put too much pressure on you.
You're saving lives, not to put any pressure, not to put too much pressure on, but you are. Yeah. So again, how can people, let's get back to the control room and guys, once again, where and when, how do people watch?
I am putting some stuff up on the screen here. What I'm going to do is in all of our video streams, we're going to put it in the comments, the 3 links for Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And then on yours, let's see if I can't. There's really not a lot that I can do to give these long links to people on the radio show. But if they go to Lockdown Theater on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, they should probably just follow us so that they'll get the notification. And it is on Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Pacific. Yeah, sorry, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m.
And theater is spelled the British way, R-E instead of
E-R. The correct way,
the correct way, right?
The correct
Exactly.
Pretty way.
Again, I've got those for listeners. I've got those.
Link up there to Lucky and Sparks too. So we'll release the Feather and the Brick on the Lucky and Sparks Facebook page after we go live on Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful. And I've got those links up for listeners at louisfreeshow.com and wfmj.com. You can get those links and find it. I'm thrilled that we're doing this, and I'm just so honored to have you all on. Again, Rochelle, thank you so much. I still can't believe what you've accomplished at 19 years old.
Yeah.
It really
Thank
hurts.
you.
I've got to tell you. It's like, oh my God. So I did this film and I was 15, but I honored to Tommy. I want to thank you so much also for sharing so much and sharing your story. And Rick, again, as always, I'm grateful. And by the way, where'd the doggy go? You had the doggy on your lap.
Listen, I want to show you. Listen, if you listen close, you can hear her. Her mom went next door. We're at a lake house. Can you see her?
I can't.
Oh, there she is. Yeah.
There she is. Oh, for listeners, I'm sorry. You know, I always get distracted by if there's a dog or an animal there. What a beautiful dog. And you guys, I have to tell you, Cedric and Jordan, you guys are wizards. I don't know how you do what you do, but
they are.
And you do it well. And again, Professor Bruce Solheim, you are an amazing guy. I'm honored to be able to do this.
Thank you. Thank you, Louie. You're a wonderful human being.
Well,
I love what you do.
Guys, I love what you guys all do too. So are we playing the song going out, or how are we doing that? No, we're doing the song.
We can play it, or if you have it, you can play it either way.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. I want to thank you all. I'm honored to do this. Continue to promote it. We've got links up. Again, by the way, guys, should an old guy like me be doing Twitch? Should I be looking into Twitch? Is that something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing it, Louie. I'm starting.
You're doing it? Yeah.
I'm getting twitchy.
I'm not doing the TikTok thing. I'm not doing that. You know,
Twitch was the first streaming.
Yeah.
Big platform.
Oh, wow.
So I need to get involved, right?
Yeah.
I need guys like you to help me. I want to thank you all. Thank you so much for being on the show, all of you. It's wonderful and beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you. The honor is all mine. Wow, folks. Again, I want to tell you that we've got those links up. Again, it's going to be Wednesday.
Okay.
July 15th.
Okay. So Louie is doing his thing, and we're still on our stream, right?
Yes, we still are on our stream. We're a little wonky right now. Let me get that set up.
Okay. All right.
And we
then
can
Louie
play
was
Lucky
gonna,
and Sparks here, so everyone can hear it. And then if you want to say
that won't
goodbye,
interfere with what he's doing, right? Because he's doing
Right.
it separately, right? Okay.
That's right.
Oh yeah. Why don't we do it for our listeners here too?
Right.
Okay. And then we'll all say adios.
Adios.
Go ahead and we'll say goodbye, and then I'll hit play after you say goodbye,
Okay.
and we'll go to our logo.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you very much. And thank you
later.
to our
Bye,
listeners.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Falling feels like falling.
Gravity is ailing you, furrowing your brow. Perched upon the precipice, there's no resistance now. You ponder on your packing list, the weight it pulls you down below.
Oh, there's nothing left, there's nothing that he craved. Yesterday is adding up, this is the coward's way. Not enough all alone,
Not enough on his own.
he counts on giving in.
He counts on giving in. Cloudy crown won't hold you down. You're a shadow in the night. When every bit of you knows there's no doorway to the light. Falling feels like either catch me or look out below.
There's nothing left, it's nothing that she craves. Yesterday is count song.